There we go. Figuring everything out. Let me know if you can hear me okay. It should be working. This is a whole new setup for me. I'm still getting acclimated to everything. So let me know if you can hear me. Sweet. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes to get some more people, and then we will fire this off here. Yeah, this is a whole new setup. I'm still getting all figured out, but it seems pretty cool so far. And then we will, all right, perfect. Let me just get this fixed here. Cool. I'm so excited to get to use this new stuff. This is like a whole new world for me. But let me go ahead and refill my drink, and I'll be right back. And once I get back, we will fire this off. There we go. Alrighty, guys. Hello. I am glad to get to see you guys again. I was gonna get water, but I decided to get Diet Coke instead. So here we are. But I'm back. I'm so happy to be back. I'm not only happy to be back, but I'm glad to have, as you guys can see, clearly getting some new things, some upgrades here. We got some nice lighting. Well, the lighting will get better as we go along, but I've at least got something for the time being. You guys have seen the stream quality has gone way up. I'm going to get a microphone that I can hook up to my collar here, so that way whenever I'm walking around, I can talk to you guys and I don't have to either speak louder when I'm farther away or speak softer when I'm closer up or whatever the case may be. But I'm so beyond excited. If you guys see me looking over here, this is where I'm kind of orchestrating everything that's going on. So just bear with me because I want to make sure everything is working the whole time. This is a whole new system. I'm not very familiar with it yet. But to any capacity, super duper stoked to be back. For those of you who were aware, I was going on military training. Glad to say it went very, very well. Zero hiccups. Everything went well. I learned a lot. I got to even bowl a little bit while I was out there. Not as much as I'd hoped to, but I got to at least get out on the lanes and even actually get some new subscribers and get to meet some people out there as well. So it was an awesome experience, but I'm certainly glad to be back jumping into these things again. So I know quite a handful of you maybe are still getting back into the swing of things as well. Some of you during this off season may have been kind of, recouping and learning and soaking up some other things from some other YouTubers while I have been away. So we're just going to be picking up from where we had left off regarding our series. So as you guys know, we have the two different series that have still been running. We have the From Feet to Fingertips playlist, which is what the episode we'll be talking about today, as well as the Between the Frames playlist. Both of these playlists, while I have them back, have had a new episode uploaded to each of them. The From Feet to Fingertips playlist talked about what we'll be talking about here, which is the next step of the elements of the approach, which is the backswing, which we'll get into here in a moment. And if you have not had an opportunity to watch the From Between the Frames playlist episode, I talk about practice time and actually learning to optimize every minute you have in your likely limited lifetimes to actually get out there, make the most of that time, and actually dedicate your practice time in a much more meaningful manner. And I believe that that is a extremely useful episode that I would strongly behoove all of you to watch if you have an opportunity to do so. I just believe that it provides a lot of really good insights and will get you guys to better maximize your time and make more out of it. So let me go ahead and pull up my notes over here and we will dive into some of the stuff I would like to discuss about. And as you guys know, just like all the other streams, if you guys have any questions or anything you guys are looking to ask, please do so. This is an open forum. Whether you are watching this live or whether you are watching this back, I will still respond to your live comments if you're here now, or I will respond to your historical comments that are after the fact. I always do my best to respond to all the comments that I absolutely can. One other admin thing, and I'll jump in. All of the coaching and stuff is still free. I know it was kind of up in the air whether or not I was going to keep things free or change things or whatever the case may be, but all coaching online is still 100% free. I'm really struggling to find a reason for me to ever change that at this point, so it's going to remain free. I'm hoping that I can keep things free, keep things accessible, and keep getting all of you guys to improve as quickly as possible. So again, reach out to me. You guys all have my email courtesy of my website, as well as my business number, which I used to kind of keep hidden away in case people wanted it. They could request it, but I have now made it all public. So if you guys ever need to reach out for me for anything, whether it be sending me a video, asking me a question, whether it be looking to set up a phone call, I am a 100% free, 100% open forum. I'm not going to take any of your guys' information. I'm not going to blow you guys up. I promise. Okay. I am a underground YouTuber who's just trying to help out the people who I can. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kick into some of this stuff. So what I will do here, since we have access to now me streaming directly off of my laptop, we'll be able to talk some things. I'll show you guys some things here for myself, and then we'll actually dive into the laptop and we're going to look at some professionals and we're going to kind of dissect what we're noticing in some of these professionals games and how we can apply what they're doing to what we're talking about in the backswing. So as I've said before, and as I'll continue to say, all elements of the approach, all five of them, all kind of feed into each other. And many people, not by many, I mean the majority, the vast majority of bowlers like to look up and like to search and like to refine the release aspect. Now, I can understand why, especially when you're first trying to get more skillful with your bowling release. Many bowlers are often going to come to realize that where they're falling the most flat is in the release, right? If you can't get that bowling ball to pop out of your hand the same way every time, then, well, it's almost certain that the bowling ball is not going to have the same shape or travel characteristics as it goes down the lane and isn't going to be consistent for you. So I absolutely understand why many bowlers are searching that up. But my question to those bowlers who are looking to refine that and fix that is, do you believe that your release is lackluster because of the very last second of your approach? Or do you think something before that is otherwise not allowing you to get that release you're looking for? Now, many bowlers, it won't take long for them to realize that, wow, maybe I do need to kind of rewind the tape backwards a little bit and see, how am I navigating up to the foul line that's otherwise adding to or drawing from my ability to release the bowling ball? And many bowlers, when you start to think of what the first moment is that can otherwise pull away from that release component, it would be this one. How are you otherwise swinging that bowling ball? How are you initiating into that swing? So we've talked about the stance before, and the stance certainly is going to feed into how your swing starts and how your steps starts and everything. But you can have a poor setup position and otherwise make it stronger with your backswing and steps. So that's why I believe this is the first key component you guys need to dive into is, how am I swinging the ball backwards? Obviously, the downswing has a big play on your release as well. But if you can at least get the backswing started, that's going to make the downswing a whole lot easier. So the first thing that I would like to otherwise shed some light upon is how our energy is being exerted. So as I've said before a bunch of times as well, is that our body is meant to kind of channel this flow of energy. We're meant to kind of feel, like the name of the playlist, From Feet to Fingertips, says, is we're trying to feel the flow of energy throughout our body from the tip of our feet all the way up into the tip of our fingertips. And how is all the energy playing into one another to get us that optimized release component that we're looking for? Now, it goes without saying that it's very difficult to find what exact things are causing those problems. That's why we're going to dive into these things. So the first overarching thing with that point I just discussed with the flow of energy is that in the backswing, one of the most key things to take account of is how is your arm within the backswing synced up with your steps. Now, I'm sure many of you are starting to realize where I'm going with this, and that is what is timing? What is optimal timing? Many bowlers are always asked this. And the funny thing about it is many coaches will give you a different answer. Well, it's funny, but also kind of sad, is that coaches will give you a different answer. Many coaches will say that it's about when you initiate into the swing, it's about how fast or slow your backswing actually is, it's about whatever the case may be. Well, I'm here to tell you that there is one commonality that you can find within the vast majority of professionals that we will come to find here toward the end of the stream that has a play as to what the most optimal timing is. As I was just discussing, we're talking about the flow of energy, right? And in just common sense speak, the most optimized means of creating that energy and getting that timing is when your momentum is already established forward and it otherwise allows you to not exert too much energy. How can you conserve that energy? So the timing, given that we all have our own unique bowling DNA, is not in when we start the backswing, but rather where is our backswing at the peak of itself. So I just said that. You guys heard me just say that. Bowling DNA, right? We all throw the ball a little bit differently. Everyone kind of has different step speeds, different swing speeds, different whatever speeds, different looks, all that good stuff. But one thing that many bowlers all have in common is just how fast the downswing is. So you have multiple things that are helping you with your downswing. Many bowlers are giving it energy down. Many bowlers, well, every bowler has gravity applying energy down on the bowling ball. So with that being said, the downswing in 99% of bowlers happens within half of a second. That's very, very fast. I mean, you blink your eyes and half of that second is already gone. So with that being said, it's not about optimizing when you start the backswing because everyone's is so different. But given that we all know we all have a very similar downswing speed, it's about getting us into that part that's very similar in a similar time frame. The correct timing is when you are initiating your final step, no matter how many steps you take in your approach, the minute that you start to initiate that final step is the minute that your downswing should start to initiate. That is what is going to give you, more commonly than not, for many bowlers, that feel of utilizing that forward momentum you've established throughout your approach with your steps to then channel that into your arm or arms, plural, if you're a two-hander, to get the most out of the energy that you have created. If you have early timing, you start to go into the downswing before initiating onto your last step. That is what most bowlers will have. Most bowlers will tend to have a early timing. Because of that, they are releasing the ball too quickly. You tend to fall off balance a whole lot more often, and too much of your energy is still in your legs. You're not otherwise flowing into your arm. Late is when you've already initiated into your final step and your arm is not in the downswing yet. One common bowler or one bowler that has late timing that's a professional would be Chris Barnes. We can certainly pull up a clip of him as well. And you'll notice that once he initiates that last step, his arm is still hanging up here. As a matter of fact, it's still going up a small bit. And when you do that, it tends to just draw from that. Then it's when you've established your momentum and your momentum is actually slowed down because you no longer have any room to work with between you and the foul line, and now your arm is just doing all the work all itself. Your swing is playing catch up with your feet. If you have early timing, your swing is trying to catch up to your feet. If you have late timing, your swing is falling behind your feet. So to kind of shed some light onto this, I will kind of show it. So this is me. Here's my bowling ball, right? So I will go from the side angle so you guys can see it. So again, the minute that my last step, I'm a 5-step approach, right here, right as that last step starts to initiate, my swing should be beginning to make its move down. That is when I'm at the peak height of my backswing. Early timing bowlers will not have that quite to be the case. Did you see how my arm started to swing down as my last step hit and started to initiate? If I'm swinging down, that means my legs are still applying energy and everything, and all my momentum is all forward. Now my arm is trying, my legs are trying to catch up to my arm. If you have early timing, that's the problem you're going to run into. Right there. That is just not what we want. Early timing is very common because many bowlers can't otherwise use gravity as a free energy source, and they just rush it. They get to the peak of their swing and they pull down really quickly. Really quickly. You want to feel that pause in the peak of your backswing so that way you can have an easier time of lining up your timing much more properly. So when I bowl one-handed, I actually tend to fall into the late timing. So it takes me a little bit to kind of exemplify this, but you'll find most amateur bowlers will fall victim to having early timing. Their swing is initiated too soon before their last step, and their feet are trying to catch up to their arm. So give me a little bit of grace here. I'm going to do my best to have very early timing. I see. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I'm so hardwired to have the late timing. There we go. See, you almost can kind of see how I almost fell doing it because it just feels so off to me. You start that swing, and then your last step starts, and you just feel so off balance. If you're falling off balance, your timing is a very, very common discrepancy of that, because if your feet are not fully getting planted by the time the ball's coming out of your hand, especially if you're a slider, if you're sliding as that ball is still in your hand or coming out of your hand, you're just not getting that like smooth stop, if that kind of makes sense. Late timing, which I should have much easier time exemplifying this. You see how the ball was still hovering way up here as I was initiating into that? Late timing can certainly make you have an easier time staying balanced, but you'll tend to lose a lot of that power. Early timing bowlers, since you're still going forward and have a whole lot more forward momentum as that swing is coming down, you're going to have an easier time creating ball speed. But when you jerk your arm or do some other stuff, that's why many of you have release problems. Because again, as you guys have heard me talk about before in many other episodes, if you've been tuned in, where I talk about capitalizing on that point in the backswing to create that leverage, if you are not capitalizing on that moment, likely falling victim to early timing, that's not going to get your hand in an optimal position. Late timing bowlers will generally have an easier time with that because they're so behind, their momentum is already starting to slow down. That gives them that moment to create that leverage that they're looking for on that bowling ball. It's a very, very weird mechanic. But again, the proper timing is right as that last step is initiating, my hand is initiating along with it. Now, if you're a two-hander or one-hander, again, it may be a little bit different, but something in the realm of that is going to give you that optimal transferring of energy from your legs into your hips, into your shoulders, into your arm, into your wrist. If I slide, when would you consider the step started? I've heard it's when the slide foot is flat under your head and your swing should be parallel to the peak for most two-handers. Yeah, Epic, I would say that's a good way to consider it as well. Since two-handed approaches, more often than not, and by more often than not, I mean almost all the time, tend to be just overall faster. That means that your downswing, all downswings, whether you're one-handed or two-handed, occur in that half-second ratio. But the steps before that are what are the most different. So two-handers, because they're faster, naturally have to have their leg be a little bit farther forward, like you just said, keeping it almost in line with your chin, than traditional bowlers, because the downswing is still taking half a second. If that kind of makes sense. So yes, you are correct. Great to be on board tonight. Debbie, how's it going? Nice to see you again. I hope all's been well with you. So let me see here. But yes, great question, Epic. Epic, you are correct with your answer. So again, for those of you reading it back, he said, if I slide, when would you consider the step started? I've heard it's when the slide foot is flat under your head. Your swing should be parallel and peak for most two-handers. Yes, because again, if every bowler's downswing occurs in that half-second ratio, but your steps before that can be different, as we talked about with the bowling DNA, you have to be able to match that up with those speeds. And since two-handed bowlers are faster, initiating that, having that parallel motion be a little bit later on in your steps will better cater and balance those timing differences. Let me go back over here and make sure this is all working. This looks so much better, this streaming stuff. I mean, this is 1,000 times better than what we had previously. All right, so let me see. So we talked about, okay, feeling that energy transformation from your legs into your arms into your release and getting that timing, right? Optimal timing is at the peak of your swing at as you initiate the last step, or if you're a little bit faster, being a little bit into your last step at the peak of your swing, which most common two-handers will find to be a little bit more optimal for them. But the better question I get asked, I know I've talked about this a lot, but I still think it's important, is, Coach Logan, okay, I got that, but what are the ways I can swing the bowling ball? Because we've all seen the different ways that people bowl, but how are they otherwise initiating that swing? And how do I know what best works for me? Well, that's a great question. So for most bowlers, especially in the more intermediate and amateur level, I just discussed, many of us have early timing. And many of us have early timing because we just get so excited and we don't get the ball as high up as some of the professionals do, meaning our arm doesn't have to go down as much as some of the professionals, meaning if your swing doesn't have to go as far, that means it's even faster than that half second, and your timing will just tend to be early. That's just common day speak. But better yet, if you can at least start to get in your mind this concept of gravity and creating leverage, that's going to help you get to that point that you're looking to down the line as you continue to refine your bowling skills. Now, the best way that I always recommend bowlers, especially that bowl traditionally, to otherwise initiate that swing is by a extended push away. So there is not just one way to extend and push away the bowling ball, but rather there are two ways that you can do so. So give me one sec, make sure this is correct. Okay, we're good. The timing is definitely pretty different. If you guys are asking questions and it's taking a minute for them to come through, I'm sorry, the latency is getting kind of rough, but I'm seeing your questions, I promise. This is the kind of stuff that we'll continue to refine on as I get used to this software. So where was I? Yes, I apologize. Yes, the extended push away. So the extended push away is great for teaching you and allowing you to use gravity to drive the swing, which is going to have a great help in get you out of that early timing you likely fall victim to, and get you to create more leverage in the peak of your swing. An extended push away is kind of similar to that of what it sounds like, where you start with the ball close to you, and as you want to initiate the swing, you extend and push away from your body, and then it's a free fall. Once you extend and push away from your body, gravity can act upon it. You can give it a little bit of force to drive it back, and then at the peak of your swing, create that leverage to then keep it underneath there and have a strong release at the release point. So an extend and push away can be conducted in two ways, like I had just said previously. So the way I like to delineate the two is you have an extend then push away or extend and push away. So I know that the names you'll come to find don't tie out to it, but it at least helps you understand which is which. So in an extend then push away, as I like to refer to it, you will fully extend your arm and then let your arm go loose and allow gravity to initiate it. I'll demonstrate. So I will fully extend my arm and then allow gravity to do its thing. This will otherwise be different from an extend and push away, where instead of having the extension, then the fall happen, I let them happen simultaneously. So as I am extending my arm, gravity is also initiating. So instead of it being extend and fall, I am now blending those two together, extend and fall. The only key difference that you'll find with this is your timing. If you fully extend the ball and then let it drop, that's going to make your swing initiate in reality later. If you extend the ball and then push away, during that moment you were extending, that's how much longer it's going to take for your swing to actually initiate itself. Versus if I extend and push away, the swing's initiated instantly. So if you do one of these and you either need to have later or earlier timing, try playing around with which one may work better for you. There are some things I would like to discuss about though with this approach. When you are doing it, when you are extending or extending then pushing away, it is important that you do not extend up. Now I know this can be nice because in your mind, you're probably thinking, okay, I want to get my arm swing to be higher so I can create more power. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Now, in your head, you're like, what's the best way I can get my backswing to be higher? I know if I extend up and high, that lets the ball fall more. I can bring my arm up really high. Now, that's great, but now let's think. If you extend up, what is the likelihood that you will extend up at the same height you extended the last time you extended and extended up? Not very likely. What is easy to feel is a straight out extension. A straight out extension feels a whole lot more natural and is a whole lot easier to keep consistent shot after shot as opposed to a raised extension. If you have a raised extension, I would strongly, strongly advise for you to try and shy away from that as best as possible, as it will cause there to be much more inconsistencies with your timing. If you one time only extend this high, that's going to cause your backswing to be lower, thus releasing the ball and making your timing sooner, versus if you extended way higher. Because now my backswing is going to be even higher, and now my timing will be later than my last shot. And again, the last thing that we want to promote is just another spot where some inconsistency can be had. I think you should say two main ways because everyone does it different. Yeah, that's good constructive criticism, Epic. I agree. I should have better delineated that. I apologize. But either way, if you can still be in the realm of that, Epic, it will still feel comfortable as a two-hander, I can assure you. Like the minute you're getting into that last step, the minute you start to feel it, which you'll find many of the two-handers do, it works very well for them. You can start with the ball higher instead of pushing up. Yeah, that's a good one, Epic, as well. Yes, I agree. I mean, if you guys want to do that higher up extension, I mean, that's okay, but at least pick the height you want your extension to be in your setup. Although you want to keep your arm flat, as we talked about in the stance video, but you can change how high it is and how high up you want that extend and push away, or extend and then push away to be. But yes, great analysis. So that's the most common one I recommend because, again, you're getting that. Once you extend, you start to kind of allow gravity and that free energy source of gravity to kind of drive the swing. It kind of promotes that feel in your arm a little bit more. And overall, it's just not very straining because, again, if you just have to extend your arm and kind of let it go limp, and only when you're in the peak of your swing do you have to really give it energy, that's going to make you it's going to make you save a whole lot of energy for the components that matter, which for us is the release. The next one, and this is one that you'll more commonly find two-handers tending to do, is inverted body motion. Now, as much as I love to talk about gravity and being able to leverage that within our approach, some bowlers kind of create their own gravity, as I like to say. So for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, or whatever the quote is, right? So inverted body motion, and I will pose as a two-hander for this, which, by the way, you can do an extend and push away as a two-hander. That is a possibility. That is a possibility. But moving on. Inverted body motion is basically where you create some driving motion for the ball to otherwise expedite the motion of gravity. So gravity only acts so much, right? You can only get your backswing so high without applying some sort of energy in your arm or arms up. Inverted body motion basically says, okay, I'm swinging. If I want to get the ball up, I'm going to force it to get up. So what you'll commonly find two-handers do is they'll opt into this little skip or little trot or whatever you like to call it, where they'll start to swing the ball and they'll skip up. By me skipping up, that expedites gravity because it's a greater force than gravity. It lets me drive that bowling ball into the peak of my swing. I have seen traditional bowlers do it. Some of them will have that little skip or something like that. Usually you'll see the steps start to speed up. In the extended push away, many bowlers' steps will not speed up very much. But in inverted body motion, their steps will speed up. Da, 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 as opposed to da, 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 da. That kind of thing. Now, this is something that you certainly can do, especially if you tend to be more athletic and don't fall to fatigue as often. However, if you do not feel the need to do it, I would not recommend it, as it's just going to cost you more energy, especially when you're bowling in those tournaments. I'm sure many of you have seen some videos of some of these two-handers going and everything, and you'll see them start to sweat and everything. Now, some of us are athletic, and that's great, but just something else to take note of. I will admit to it, when I first switched to two-handed, and even now, I most commonly do inverted body motion. Another note to think about of inverted body motion is it can be paired up with an extended push away. You may have a bowler that extends the ball out and then initiates into a inverted body motion. I would fall into this category, and many two-handers in the professional tour fall into this category because it lets you save some energy as opposed to people like Anthony Simonson who just start with the ball here and they just kind of jerk the ball up. So all that stuff is things that you need to take note of. The last one, and this one I will be very brief on because it's just, to be honest, just I struggle to see a reason that this would be useful, and that is muscling it. There's a couple bowlers on tour that do this, but many of them do not do it for all the right reasons. If you just don't push the ball away or allow gravity to do much of anything, you just kind of force it with your arm. I mean, that's an option you have, guys, but if you're doing that and you're going home after your league or a tournament or whatever, and you're like, man, my arm, I gotta loosen up my arm. My arm is really tight. You should really, really take a video of yourself bowling and see if you are muscling it. When you muscle it, you create tension in your arm. And when you create that tension and squeezing motion in your arm, it makes it very, very, very difficult to have an optimal release. What we want to otherwise opt into is smooth, fluid, not using so much energy. The more energy you use now, the less energy you can use later. If you are someone who muscles the ball or doesn't capitalize on gravity fully, maybe you extend the ball, but your backswing is like this speed, then you're muscling it. And if you're getting that tension, it makes it so hard to get that hand in the right spot and get that leverage you want and release the ball all in succession with one another. In Candlepin, most of the time, a high backswing leads to a faster ball speed. Some of our pros can reach 45 miles an hour. Yeah. That certainly makes sense. Yeah, because more commonly than not, the higher up your backswing is, the more potential energy you have, which means you can convert that into kinetic into your downswing to get more of that energy you want. Very little hooking in our game, just straight on power. Yep. Yeah, Candlepin's pretty fun. I've never actually seen how much they clock. I'll have to look up to see how fast some of the professionals can throw the ball. So those are again, to just kind of recap what we just spoke about. We have the extended push away, where you can either extend and let the ball fall, or extend while letting the ball fall. You then have your inverted body motion, where you're creating an upward force to drive the motion of that ball. And then you have muscling it. Again, many of these can be done in succession. Some of you may do all three. Some of you might extend the ball, but then muscle it because you don't let gravity do all the work, and then you jerk your hand up. They can all be done in succession. Many bowlers do more than just one. Anything you can do to create that upward force to drive the motion of the ball, to allow for you to create more speed, create more revolutions, create more leverage, do it. It's all meant to be played around with, and for you to experiment with, see what best works for your strengths and weaknesses and caters to your bowling DNA. Let me see. Keep on rolling here. So the other thing to think about, and this is what's causing many of you to be inaccurate, is how are you creating, as I like to refer to as the slot. How are you creating an area to allow your swing to be at your target? In a beautiful, lovely, perfect world, if you guys are my target, if my swing on both the backswing and downswing is always at you guys, pretend you draw a line from you guys straight to me. If my arm is on that line and always stays on that line, how could I ever not hit you guys? The only time my hand, or I will ever not hit you guys, is if my arm goes off of that line, whether it be behind me or outside of me. Because if I go behind me, guess where my arm has to go? To the right of you guys. If my arm goes outside of me, guess where my arm now has to go? To the left of you guys. The only time you can ever possibly be missing your target is when your arm falls off of that line to whatever it is you're looking at. Most of you look at the arrows. If you guys are the third arrow and I'm looking at you and I'm in my approach and my backswing goes behind my back If you're someone who tends to miss right, can almost guarantee you your arm tends to go behind your back a little bit and you struggle to get it back around you. The only way if my arm goes off the swing plane or goes off of that line, the only way I could get it at you guys is if my arm comes around my body and then comes at you. Vice versa, if it's the opposite. If you tend to miss left, it's because your arm's flaring out from that line and you're going across your body. A lot of bowlers, because of the rotations they provide, you may notice some of their follow-throughs look like this. Their follow-through goes to the opposite side of their head because they're applying all that rotational power and it's causing the momentum of their arm to flare off of their target and go this way. So it looks kind of awkward and looks kind of odd. So again, if you tend to have a miss to the left or right of you, it's likely because of where your arm is flaring in that backswing. Now, I don't want this to be misconstrued. You can flare a little bit. Some bowlers actually have some interesting backswings. One that you'll commonly see is I like to call as a figure 8, where they'll make kind of this looping shape. Their arm goes outside of their body, but then it figure 8s back in and comes back at their target. Now, that's certainly something you can do, but in my mind, if you don't have to, why should you? If you're seeing a benefit by doing some figure 8 swing or doing some other thing or doing whatever, then do it. Again, that comes with self-analysis within your game. But if you're noticing that you tend to miss your target and it's costing you a ton of pins and costing you to not hit the pocket or hit your spares as much, definitely go to the drawing board and see, what is my arm doing in the backswing? Is it allowing me to have a forward swing in front of me? Now, the hard part about this, guys, is it comes with a challenge. Let me see. Drift unless you're Tommy Jones. Yeah. If you can react to the weirdest moments in candle pins standing back up or just sliding off spots just while launching pins in other lanes. Oh yeah, I've seen some clips of those things flying around because they're so much lighter and those balls are just going so fast they send stuff up and it's pretty cool. Yeah, Eric, I've seen some of the montages of that stuff. It's pretty funny. But this comes with creating that slot. Like you guys heard me say, that slot. That slot is that open area to allow for you to swing on that line at your target. And the slot could be different. If I'm way over here and trying to hit you guys, my slot's going to have to be angled kind of like this. If I'm over here and trying to hit you guys, my slot's going to have to be angled like this. Do you get what I'm saying? The slot's going to change depending on where your target is in relation to where you are. But the slot has a problem. This hip or whatever hip it is that you guys bowl with is what is in the way of your slot. If I have just my arm, I can swing at you guys without moving anything. I can. But now watch this. When I put this bowling ball in my hand, I no longer can swing at you guys without hitting myself in the hip. So you have to get this hip out of the way. But okay, Coach Logan, how the heck do I get that hip out of the way? Well, there's two ways you can get that hip out of the way. By either opening them up throughout the course of your swing to enable you to swing at your target. So my hips are out of the way, and now I can swing at you guys. My shoulders are opening, my hips are opening, my body is opening. This is clearing that hip out of the way. Or by moving it out of the way, by drifting. Two-handers will commonly drift, so I'll take that of a two-hander. If I move to the side, that gets this hip traveling this way, and now I just got to reorient my momentum at you. Hips out of the way, now I'm at you. Those are the two most common methods that bowlers do to get their hips out of the way. The most common one being the opening and closing the door. So, opening and closing the door. Let's think about some advantages and disadvantages of this. Well, the beauty of opening and closing the door is my momentum can be straight. With straight momentum, makes it easier for me to keep my arm swinging at my target. If my momentum is always forward and at you guys, it should be theoretically easier for me to be more accurate. But here comes a problem. If my shoulders are straight at you guys, it makes it easy for me to project something at you. It makes it easier for me to throw something at you guys like this. When I open up, I might not reorient myself at you guys. If you open up the door, you have to close the door. That's the best way to describe it. If I choose to open up the door, and I don't close the door enough, my arm's going to go this way. See how my body is oriented this way? if I close the door on my face or slam the door on myself, my body is facing this way. Now my arm wants to go this way. If you open the door, you have to close the door the same amount you opened it. Only way I can have an easy time of projecting the ball back at you guys, I open the door and reclose it right at you guys. That is the key. So again, most bowlers do this, and some bowlers may have a drift and they open the door. So that's just something to think about. Let's talk about drift. You'll drift to the side opposite to that of which you bowl, to get that hip driving out of the way and clear that slot up for you guys. Drift can be nice because it doesn't require as much opening and closing. It allows me to stay a little bit more level at you guys without having to risk that, like, oh, I didn't close the door enough or I slammed the door on my face. But where is my momentum going if I'm traveling on a diagonal line? If I'm drifting like this, my momentum is going this way, the direction of which I'm drifting. Which way? What do you guys think the problem with that is? If I'm drifting that way, my momentum is that way. My momentum will tend to get me to make my ball want to launch in the direction of my momentum. So if you choose to drift, especially if you have a massive drift, you have to have some way of counteracting that momentum to project the ball at your target. So again, just two things. And some of you may do both. Many bowlers do. Most of you out there, if you have not noticed yet, take a video of yourself and see, do you walk straight? I can guarantee you 95% of you will tend to drift to the opposite side of which handedness you are by a couple, maybe even a few boards. So to recap, you have your opening and closing. Keys with this are to make sure that you're opening and closing the door the same amount. If I keep the door cracked open and I don't fully close it, I'm probably going to miss you guys to the right of me. If I slam the door on my face, I'm probably going to miss to the left of me. So again, open and close the door the same amount. Drifting is great as well because I can get out of the way of it, but I have to counteract that negative momentum I've created. Unless I want to throw the ball that way, then sure. But I need to get my momentum to counteract itself to get the swing at you. Many bowlers who have a massive drift will have that figure eight, as it allows them to tuck their arm behind themselves a little bit and reproject it, otherwise counteracting that negative momentum as I'm referring to it as. So again, just some thought for food, if you will. You're not EJ Tackett. Look at that. Thomas Larson, one of the people with the strangest swings, recommends to try and keep a straight of a swing because it's not as hard to maintain as a figure eight. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So because again, I mean, I talked about it earlier, Epic. Some bowlers have that figure eight. I don't recommend it unless you're seeing a benefit from it, because what's the point in swaying your swing path outside of that of where you ultimately want it to go? Again, if I have a string tethered to my target, if my arm always stays on that string, I'll never miss my target. It's that easy. Well, it's that easy in theory, but we all know just how frustrating it is when you're like, oh, that one felt good, and you miss like 3 arrows left of your target, and it's like, oh no, what happened? I've been there. We've all been there. Okay, trust me, I get it. You're not EJ Tackett, agreed. Oh God, no, you never catch me out there. We're gonna watch EJ bowl though, and you'll see him do some of those. But EJ is a great example of someone who has that opening up motion, and a lot of opening up. Belmo is a good one who has that drift, and you'll see him kind of counteract his momentum by projecting a swing to the right of him, which we'll come to see here very, very soon. So again, we talked about those. So one of the last couple things I want to talk about is how far forward or backwards is your posture throughout the majority of your approach. So we like to call this in the bowling world spine tilt. If this is my lane in front of me here, spine tilt is just the forward or backwardness in which my spine is tilted. For example, this would be like a 15-degree spine tilt, 45-degree, 90-degree. I know none of you guys are bowling like this, and if you are, then I would probably get away from that. But spine tilt is great as I always say, we want to enable the follow-on action to be strong, right? If we know our momentum is meant to go forward, if we have a little bit of that forward spine tilt, that makes establishing that forward momentum a little bit easier. But it's important to understand what kind of things will we otherwise fall victim to if we have a more spine tilt than if we have less, because many bowlers have less. The more forward tilted you are, as I just discussed, the easier it's going to be for you to keep that forward momentum going, and the lower the ground you're going to be.
which otherwise probably makes it easier for you to lay the ball down as opposed to having inconsistent loft heights or other things of that nature. But when you're more tilted forward as opposed to tilted backwards or standing more upright, this is something that many bowlers don't think about. So I'm going to act as if I'm going in the downswing. So you guys see how my hand is? I'm keeping my hand as leveraged as possible. Many bowlers are not keeping it this leveraged, but I am. Do you see how my bowling ball is leveraged? If I'm keeping it this low, this is as underneath the bowling ball as I can get at the point of release, is this far. If I bring myself to more upright, look how much more underneath the bowling ball my hand is. Now I'm literally underneath the bowling ball. Now I'm not as underneath the bowling ball. So the more forward tilted you are, the harder time you are going to have of creating as much leverage. Spine tilt should not be confused with like a bend. This is not what we want. We don't want to have a bend. This is why some of you may have problems with your back. You don't want to bend like this. Those of you who have done deadlifts before, you know how you're told to kind of puff your chest out and do the deadlifts like that? That is proper spine tilt. It's okay to get low to the ground, but we don't want to be bending because when we bend, it just makes it way harder for us to be consistent and is going to cause a lot of strain on your back. So bowlers, please do not confuse spine bend. I know I kind of branched off to say that, but please do not confuse spine tilt with like a saggy bend. We don't want to see that, right? I just don't want you guys to get hurt. So again, I'm not telling you guys not to spine tilt because you want to have some. You want to have an easier time establishing that forward momentum. And it even keeps you closer to the ground so you have an easier time staying balanced. But just think of what types of things you may be sacrificing. That may make it harder for you to loft the bowling ball because if your hand has a harder time getting underneath it, the only way you can apply loft to the bowling ball is by getting underneath the ball and scooping the ball up into the air. If you're a bowler who already has a poor leverage position and then you lean forward on top of it, there's absolutely no way that you're going to have a time lofting the bowling ball because your hand's in a weaker position by you doing that. I mean, you guys can even see here, if I get a somewhat weaker position like this, and I tilt way more forward, it's even weaker. I mean, I'm almost parallel to the ground at this point. But if I just get up a little bit, stand a little more upright, I get just a little bit more leverage. So it's kind of like a balancing act. So the more upright I stand, the less forward momentum I'll be able to establish, but the more leverage I'll be able to likely create. If you're looking to loft the bowling ball, you might find it beneficial. Maybe you're playing real left and the pattern's real burnt up, especially for those of you who bowl in them tournaments. If you're someone who gets pretty low on your setup, try to just kind of pucker up your posture just a little bit. And I can guarantee you'll have a much easier time applying that upward force to get that loft you're looking for. Again, there is no right or wrong with any of these, but just think about it. How could it be otherwise adding or drawing to your game as a bowler and otherwise changing your bowling DNA? Let me see. Only benefit would be power. Yeah, and you can obviously create a little bit more as well. But yes. Let me see. So that's another one I like to talk about. Again, if you guys want to have more questions about any of these, please ask. But let me see. So, hand position of the backswing. I'm always asked. Again, I know we all love to talk about the release, and we'll get there. I promise. I promise. We'll get to the release. I promise. We're down the line, but we're gonna get there. I get asked all the time. Okay, common sense speak, and it makes sense to me. It does, but let's just hear it out. Someone will say, "Hey, Coach Logan, okay, so you talk about this creating leverage and whatnot. In the backswing, if I could just keep my hand behind and underneath the bowling ball the whole time, wouldn't I never have to do that catch it in the back of the swing thing and follow it down and do all this other stuff or do some goofy stuff with my hand, like bending it to create leverage and doing that yo-yo thing that you'll see guys like EJ Tackett and those guys do? If I just start with the ball cupped super far and I keep it cupped the whole way, shouldn't that just make it way easier? Yes, it should. In theory, it should. I would agree. But also, in real life, not really. Let's think a minute. I always talk about how you don't want tension. If you have tension in your arm or arms up, that makes it way easier to create more tension at the point of release. The release is just having tension and releasing said tension. That's all the release is in bowling. If you start off super cupped, and you try your absolute best to keep it cupped the whole time, that is an option you have. But if you guys have a ball at home or have ever tried this, it is so difficult to have a free, smooth, flowing swing while keeping it in that super cupped position. I can't even do it. And this is a 15-pound ball, 15-pound ball I'll buy, but I cannot do that. That is going to create so much tension on your arm that you cannot maximize gravity. You cannot keep things flowing. It makes it way harder to have that correct timing because you're not using gravity to help drive the ball. And it's going to draw from your approach more likely than not. If you're super strong and you can do that, then go for it. But it's likely drawing from your approach. Keeping that, and coaches that say to keep your hands super duper leverage and behind the ball the whole time, I think that is not optimal. Within the bowling world, blocks of tournaments have only gotten longer. The technology has only gotten stronger, and it's only becoming more and more power oriented. And if you're using so much power already, you're not going to be able to create more power at the release point. So strong hand position, weak hand position. Okay. You are allowed to have a weak hand position in your backswing. You are. And I actually would recommend it, but only if you've learned to make that hand position strong in the downswing portion. Whether it be up here or whether it be by bending your arm like those yo-yo guys do and doing that, whatever it may be, your backswing, just the backswing, just getting the ball up, can afford and likely should afford to be in a weaker position. Guys, the only way you're going to make things feel comfortable and feel free-flowing is if you keep your hand position a little bit weak. When I keep my hand position a little bit weaker, that is what allows me to get that fluidity. I feel no tension in my arm. I could do this. If I could live stream myself and just do this for 5 hours, I could do it. I feel zero effort. 95% of this is just gravity and me giving it a little bit of backward momentum. But if I do that, you have to create leverage in the downswing, which will be one of the later episodes in the From Feet to Fingertips playlist. But guys, you can afford to have your hand be weak in the backswing. In the backswing. Don't say the whole time. That's not the answer. But the answer is in the backswing. Your hand position can be weak, but only if you are able to create leverage later on down the line. Like that. Creating that leverage, which you'll find majority of the professionals, especially in that traditional one-handed approach, do that. Majority of them do. So let's go ahead and actually dive into some of this a little bit here, because that is what I wanted to cover in terms of talking. So let's just spend these last 10 minutes or so just diving into some of this stuff. Make sure I did this correctly. So we have an advertisement is playing, clearly. Let me see. Let me get this ad done here. Give me one sec, guys. I'll transfer it over. All right. Now we should be beginning to actually see my screen, I believe. So, right? Excellent. All right. Let's dive into this. So I have this video pulled up to show some professionals bowling, and it's in super slow motion. I just want to kind of dissect some of this stuff, right? So I'm looking at AJ Johnson. Okay, we're just going to look at his backswing. So you'll notice he's already kind of got a little bit of a rightward tilt. He's kind of tilting up and to the right. That's kind of giving that arm a little slot right here, his hips are to the left of him, to swing freely. So we're already seeing something I spoke about in active time. Look at that. You can see the little clear opening. He's probably trying to project the ball somewhere over here on the lane. So he's creating that slot for him to do so. Now, is his hand behind the bowling ball? A little bit. I mean, he's also a big dude. He's a pretty strong guy. But if you guys look at me on a webcam, his arm is kind of like this. He's not cupping it like this. He's not super weak either, but he's a stronger guy. If you're built like that, go for it. Make it easier for yourself. Create a little bit of leverage, but you don't got to break your wrist to do it. And also, you see how his shoulder is opening up? He's opening the door. He's about to initiate into his last step. He's in the peak of his backswing right as that last step initiates. Look how open his shoulders are. I know you guys can't see it, but his left hand is like an airplane.
He's pointing at where he's trying to throw that bowling ball. His hip is out of the way. He's got that spine tilt forward to drive the momentum of his approach. And in the downswing, he creates leverage right there. So he is a yo-yo releaser, as we like to call. So you notice his arm is straight, and in the downswing, he gives it a little bit of bend, and that's what helps him get that leverage he's looking for. So he's down, he bends his arm a little bit. See how it's bent? A little bit. It's not like this, but it's a little bit of bend, and he'll accentuate his arm. You'll notice his shoulders are closing up. He's open, he's open, he's open. His shoulders close up, and he refaces his target. Look where his shoulders are facing. He's probably going right about here. Yep, there it goes. So you guys are seeing it in real time. And you can see how bent over he is here in his release position. But he's leveraging gravity. He extended and pushed away the ball in his backswing too. See how his arm extended out? He's an extend and push away. The swing started to go as he's pushing the ball out. Guys, this is one professional that just did all the things I talked about. Look at his timing. Step initiates, and so does his downswing. That's beautiful. Look at that slot. Look how close he gets to his ankle. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? That's the kind of stuff you guys got to consider. Here's Anthony Simonson. Here's one that he doesn't push the ball out, but rather you'll see him kind of jerk his body up. He drifts. So you see where his feet are now? Let's see if he ends up like this at the foul line. You can already see he's starting to kind of step a little bit this way. This step goes way off to the side. Look at his hip move to the left. Hip moves to the left. I know for a fact you guys are seeing it. He started right here. He just stepped 10, 11 some boards to the left. And look at that hip get out of the way. But now how does he counteract that motion he created? Watch his last step. His last step didn't stay over here. He slid back to the right to create that momentum back at his target. Slid to the right. Hips are way out of the way. Created that slot. And look at how underneath the bowling ball he is in that finishing position. Look at that. Right. I mean, he's pretty much darn near touching his foot. And look how low he gets. I mean, he's almost parallel to the ground. So again, he's creating so much leverage, but he has a bunch of spine tilt. It doesn't work. It's not the same cookie cutter for everybody, guys. Some people I'm just saying as an overarching concept, you are likely to have a harder time creating as much leverage by being so tilted forward. But some people make it work. And look at that release. And many bowlers will just look at this part. They'll skip all this and say, okay, what's he doing here? How's the ball coming out of his hand? But what dictates how good of a position his hand is getting in is the stuff that's before that. That's the stuff we care about. Here's another one, a very good traditional bowler, Bill O'Neill. Kind of gives a little bit of a push away there. Just see him kind of start to open up his body a little bit. He's not as much of an open bowler. He had that kind of drift step to the side there. Pretty close to his hip. He does not open up as much as many bowlers. But again, slides a little bit to his right to get that momentum. And his shoulders face his target. And look at his release. Right by his foot. Not as leveraged as some bowlers, but you may notice he's standing a little bit more upright. A little bit more upright, probably because he knows he needs to be a little bit more upright to have an easier time getting more of that leverage. But he makes it work for him. Here's another one. Here's BJ Moore. Kind of see him open up his shoulder a little bit there. A lot bit here. Look how open he is there. Peak of his backswing, and look what starts, that last step. As that last step comes in, his shoulders close up at his target. He's coming out. I bet you the ball's going to get out to around here. Let's see where that ball gets out to. Yep, like just right 10. Like 6. Yeah, just about there. I mean, you can tell where a bowler's going to throw the ball just by looking at them. Kind of neat. That was kind of a bad angle. I want to see like their shoulders and stuff. Oh, here's a good one. This might be him one-handed because this video is a little bit old. Let's see. It is one-handed Darren. So let's see what one-handed Darren is. So let's look at his timing. If you guys have watched Darren Tang, very, very fun bowler to watch. He likes to make a lot of YouTube videos. He's very vocal about the problems he has. And he said that he had a very big timing issue when he bowled one-handed. So I have not seen this clip yet, so I'm actually quite curious to see. I haven't seen any of this. I just saw that it was a long compilation and wanted to play it for you guys. But let's see if he's having a timing discrepancy and if he's late or early, based off of the framework I provided. So he's an opener. Pretty big
shoulder opener kind of guy. So right now, he's initiating into his last step, but look at his arm. He has early timing. And he said it. He's like, I have a timing issue. So look, so he's at the peak of his swing. He's not even close to getting into his last step. So now let's see what kind of happens. So he's guys, by the time he initiates into his last step, he's still not into it. He's parallel to the ground, which in Epic's timing analogy makes sense, but you may notice that he just looks a little bit more off balance. Look at that trail leg kind of kicks back, but he has a little bit more balance issues than some of the other bowlers that you may see. I mean, you can see he kind of has to arch his back a little bit more to kind of keep himself upright. A lot of his weight is kind of off to the side, which again, it may work for some of you, but you likely are going to struggle to create as good of a position. For Darren, he's a professional, so he's able to kind of get that yo-yo to get his hand into a stronger position. But for some of you, you may not just have the repetitions and have that in the cards yet. Take a look at one more. Here we go. Here's the one that I was just made fun of for trying to look like. So I want you guys to watch EJ. So he is a great example of someone who opens up his shoulders. He is crazy with how much he opens up his shoulders. And he does it to get that hip out of the way. And I'll even point something else out in his backswing. Look at how open this guy is, guys. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, you're almost full 90 degrees, but he makes it work for him. And look at how much space he has about his hip. Look at that. His hip's so far out of the way. Let's rewind back and let's watch his backswing. Remember how I talked about the figure 8 backswing? This is a minor case of it, but EJ makes it work because he's the best in the world right now. So look at, if he's trying to project his ball this way, let's actually see where he was trying to project the ball. He's trying to project it over probably this arrow. Seems like, yeah. So he's trying to project over the 5th arrow. So if I'm watching this bowler, if I'm his coach, if I'm trying to project over this arrow, look where his ball went. If he was to downswing from right there, his ball would be going at the 7 pin from right here. But I want you to watch and you'll see how he kind of scoops it around and figure eights it, and his momentum of the swing gets pointed back. Kind of brings it to the left a little bit, a lot bit there. So look at it. Starts way away from his body, and he'll get it this close to his body in the downswing. I mean, you guys have seen it all. This was a perfect video. This was kind of a good grab. But I mean, you're seeing all these different things. And again, why does he do it? Well, that's a question to ask EJ. Some people have an easier time. Sometimes if you figure eight it, if you're used to playing deep on the lane, that lets you have an easier time getting the ball behind you a little bit so you can project it to the right of you if your target's there. And right now, EJ is playing very deep on the lane. He's playing pretty far left and trying to get it way to the right. And by him figure eighting it, that's letting him get it behind him a little bit. And so he can free his arm that way. I mean, this is a perfect video. Here we go. Here's Jason. All right. If you are a drifter, let's take a look at this, and then we'll pan back to me and we'll close this off. But let's see where is Jason starting. He's on, what is it, 25, 30, like 32, 33 with his right foot. You can already see he's stepping to the left. Let's just see how far this man drifts, guys. I mean, his first step is like 5 boards left. Second step, I mean, his body's completely going this way. You can't even see his upper body, but it looks like he's about to go bowl on this lane. Another cross step. We're about 10 boards left. Another cross step. Now we're in the middle of the 2 lanes. But then that last step gets that momentum, creates that slot, and look at his hand. That is some strong leverage, guys. I mean, he's almost completely underneath it. All that ball to work with. And you guys wonder why you can't get some rev rates? It's because your hand got to look like that. If you got all that amount of ball to manipulate your hand and flick and apply that power, that's what's getting it for you. But how is he doing that? It's in his backswing. You kind of see, he kind of skips too to kind of drive the ball up. I wish the camera angle was higher, but you can see he's got that inverted body motion going on. He kind of skips up to help drive the ball up, slides back this way to get his momentum back, has a little bit of spine tilt, his shoulders re-close up and get it, and he projects that ball. Man, so cool to get to see some of this stuff. And I'm glad I actually can show you guys this with a whole lot more tact. This is way easier. See another one. Find one more. I'd like to find one more. I don't know why all the camera angles are so low.
Norm Duke, the camera's too low. Here's a funky release. This guy's got a good figure eight going on. Whole lot of drift. Ball goes. Oh, here we go. Look at that. Look at that figure eight. There it is. Ball's coming way over here. Looks like he's going to project it that way. Scoops it behind him. Projects it back to the right. Figure eight is a great way to counteract drift if you have it, which I'm sure you guys are noticing. Some of these guys that drift tend to have some of them figure eights. This is Tommy Jones, pretty open as well. Kicks his trail leg out of the way kind of early to free up that slot. All right, I'll be here all night unless I pan away from it here. But I believe you guys get the gist. So again, this is the kind of stuff that's very, very interesting to look at. So if you guys have time, I would strongly encourage all of you to take a minute and do this kind of stuff within your own game. I love that we have the opportunity to do this stuff here and watch these videos and watch professionals and do this stuff, but spend a brief minute and take a video of yourself in slow motion and see what kind of things you can pick out. And if you guys need help picking stuff out, send a video to me and we can either hop on a call or text about it, and I can give you the exact same breakdown I just gave you guys here. I actually think that we saw everything. We saw people, let's think. We saw people's legs and arms in sync with their timing. Most of them had that timing, that downswing timing that you guys are seeing. And the one guy who didn't have the timing went to two-handed because he said his timing was off. I mean, guys, it's like a book. So we saw the right timing. We saw all different types of people pushing the ball. And did you notice how none of them really muscled it? Because it just doesn't fly on the pro tour because these guys need to have some endurance about them. We saw some guys push and let the ball fall. Some guys push, then let the ball fall. We saw that inverted body motion. We saw multiple combined. We saw all that stuff. We saw how they created the slot. We saw people that opened up. We saw people that drift. We saw people that figure eighted to combat the drift. We saw all that stuff, all different. We saw the spine tills. Some people were more upright. Some people were more forward. Some people would otherwise slowly get closer and closer to the lane. We saw all different walks of life, and they all, at the point of release, you guys all say you want the same release as the pros, but they all kind of have a different release. Bomo's hand was way here. Bill O'Neill's hand was kind of on the top, but he still leveraged it. We saw EJ Tackett. He's pretty underneath it. You saw Smallwood, who did some goofy figure eight. He had a claw grip. You saw everything, and they all made it work, and they all compete, and they all win buku bucks and get paid a whole lot to be out there doing it. And then you saw the hand position. None of them had a strong hand position in the backswing. Some of them may have had a stronger one, but none of them really feel like they have to force it. They kind of create that leverage, whether it be in that either that yo-yo or in just cupping it at the peak of their swing. I mean, you guys are seeing all of it. So again, spend some time, analyze your game, take a look and see what things you're doing. What is allowing me, what is causing that problem is the best first thing to ask yourself. And then what things am I doing that are preventing me from causing problems? That kind of stuff. I need to still preface this though, is that you still have your own bowling DNA. As much as I love to sit here and dig up on some of these professionals and watch some of this super duper cool stuff, don't model your game after an exact professional. Pick out things that you guys do within yours now, and maybe see some things that you guys don't do, and whether you can pick and choose pieces, build your own machine. It's way more fun to build your own thing than it is to buy something pre-built most of the time. But in this instance, we're trying to build the best machine possible. And it's not about making your machine look like someone else's. It's about making your machine work the best. You know, you watch all these robotics competitions, none of them look the same because they all want to win. They all want to pick something that's optimal for that robot. It's the same kind of thing. You're trying to build a machine. So pick out things, analyze yourself, take some notes, experiment with things. During your practice time, if you haven't watched the practice time video, optimize it. Spend time practicing on the things that matter. Save yourself money, time, effort, energy, everything by seeing what things you can do in a more repetitive manner, whether it be at the house, at the lane, outside, whatever the case may be. Get creative. But the first step to improving here, guys, and learning this stuff is to analyze yourself. I always say that I know some people don't like to record themselves. I'm not a massive recorder either. I used to not be, but as I've gotten more into this coaching light, I've become more and more of an advocate of recording yourself. I know it can feel awkward, especially if you're out at a center, but That's the only way you're going to improve. What your body is feeling is likely going to be a massive difference than what it actually looks like when you're out there. I'm telling you, the amount of times that I personally and amount of times my students I've coached throughout these years have said, "Oh, I feel like I'm doing this," and when you watch it, it's like, "Ooh, man, you are not doing what you think you're doing." It's like almost every day. Almost every day I see that kind of stuff happening. So take that time, record yourself, analyze it, watch these videos of these professionals, and pick out the things that you think will be beneficial for your game. That's the key of this whole thing. And practice right, practice the correct way. Don't waste your time, don't waste your money, don't waste your time and money, and learn to prioritize repetitions and learn to prioritize what will get you to feel the right thing the fastest. All right. I'm going to slow down for a brief moment to answer any additional questions you guys have before we start to close this off here, because I think that we've covered everything. And I'm so glad. I really hope you guys like this new streaming stuff because this is so nice. I like that I can pan between these things and we can look at some of these different clips and do all this other stuff. I think that that is so cool that we have the capabilities to do that. Like, I think that that's so neat that we can sit here and watch these professionals and see how they're trying to create leverage. There's Bill again. You see his hands on top of the ball, but he leveraged it in his downswing. Anyway, I love that we have these capabilities now, and I cannot wait to expand on it more. I can't wait to get the mics so we can walk around more and maybe try to get out to a center, all that good stuff. But yeah, it's pretty neat. Oh, there's our timing issue friend again. He's actually pretty low. Because I mean, even with your timing there, Eric, Epic, his foot's like just now getting in front of his head, his lead foot, and his not parallel to the ground, so he's a little off. But for two-handers, it could be a little bit different, so you're still correct. But again, guys, I mean, this is pretty neat. I'm so super duper stoked that I was able to get this figured out so we could actually dive into some stuff more often. But again, please ask questions. Even if you guys are going back on this and starting to dig into your game, hit me a message. Check out the Coach Logan website. Get my contact information. Call me, text me, message me, email me, whatever the case may be. I will not release any of your guys' information. I will not let anybody know who you are. This is strictly Logan to whomever you are. And those of you who have already done that already know that I am extremely confidential. This is meant to be a learning environment, okay? So I'm super duper stoked to be back. Great info, coach. Need a foundation to build off of. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Peter, if you need something, please reach out. That goes for all of them. Same Epic. I'm sure Debbie's in here. I saw Eric, our candle pin guy. More than willing to help you out as well because a lot of these philosophies still go over. And there's Dan as well. Dan's here. Microphone is surprisingly helpful. If you narrate your practice, you can get an idea of what you're thinking when you make your shots. Yes. And I know Dan's an advocate for the mic as well. He's very, very good. I'm very, very excited to get the mic myself, Dan. But yes, please stay tuned. I'm going to continue to try and up the production quality. I think that this is the first big step we've had. I think this is great. I'm glad we've got this stuff kind of working out. So please stick around. I'm going to, after these new series conclude, I'm going to be upping the editing quality and everything. So it's going to be so sick. Guys, we're going to be out in the lanes. We're going to have all this overarching commentary. We're going to have the mics. We're going to have more people coming in. We can do some more fun videos and stuff. I have so many things in the cards. It's not even funny. I'm hoping I can do a seminar again soon, like a 3-hour-long one. I would like to make this seminar over the Arsenal Advantage and Adjustments playlist because I think that that's it's a little bit more granular with some of the more adjusting characteristics, and it's very easy to lose sight of some of those as we start to roll into the bowling season. So I think that that would be definitely in the cards if we could kind of dive into that in a seminar. So once I kind of figure out the timing and everything on that, I'll certainly let you guys know and keep you guys updated. But other than that, guys, I mean, that's really all I got. So again, please reach out if you guys need anything. I'm super duper happy to be back, and I'm very, very excited to get to meet some more of you and work with those of you who I have and haven't worked with already leading up to this point. So, all right, guys, you guys take care, and I will see you all in the Quick Tip Tuesday.